Here.
Allen, Hazelton,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Campeter, Lester,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Neely, Thomas,
Present.
Young. Present. We have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. Are there any public comments for tonight? Don't see any, so we'll jump right into department presentations, and we left off with the airport fund. So please proceed.
So we're going to start on page 229, which is the airport fund, and I'll turn that over to Director Brimmer. I think what we have left for this evening are the 4 enterprise funds, and he'll cover all of those.
That'll work. Yes, page 229, airport, there are no significant changes, so I'll field any questions if anybody has any specifically on the airport. Seeing none, let's flip to page 236 and parking. Parking, there's obviously a lot of changes that will happen with the budget, but those are to come. So if there's questions on that, Sheila and I and probably Brian can field any of those questions.
If I can just kind of interject with the plan, I think we do have a budget in here that is set for the same way operations are happening right now. Obviously, we know that that's going to change. And once we have some firm figures and everything is squared away with that, we will be doing a budget amendment so that we are accurately reflecting the amount of the professional services contract, potentially also the amount of a staff person. Currently, we have Mr. Fitch, who partially comes out of the parking division, so we're still talking about how to handle that. But those really should be the only 2 expenses I think that we'll have here in the parking division, and we'll make a budget amendment to reflect that and get everything squared away once we get into the new fiscal year.
And we are actively working with the contractor right now or with the operator right now to finalize numbers and everything like that. So it's in the works.
Very good.
Perfect. Page 242, unless there's any further questions there. 242 transit, the significant changes in the transit budget. On the revenue side, our federal operating grant, we're down $400,000 or so, and that's really because in 2023 our ridership went way down because staffing levels force kind of alternating routes, and when the ridership goes down, it reflects in how much grant we will eventually get in the following years, and it takes a little bit for that to catch up. It's caught us and kind of got us in this budget. So with that, you will see the transfer from the general fund is up about $400,000. So that's kind of the big changes when we'll be looking at transit right now. And there is a transfer from surplus of about $300,000 in there as well. On the expense side, we do have $25,000 in there for the transit study. If you recall the Campo discussion, Campo is funding, I think it's 80% of that grant. We've got to come up with 20%, and that $25,000 is our match. Any questions on transit?
Councilwoman Joe.
So ridership is back up, right? Or have we?
Ridership is steadily improved.
Okay,
Correct.
so that would reflect more positively for future, hopefully,
Correct.
grant allotments. So just this year in particular is a little more difficult.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we will hope to see that grant funding jump back up in the following years. So that's why transit is doing all it can keep bus drivers and try to get those numbers up. You recall you guys the council did pass letting with school starting, trying to get more school riders and having a program there for make it easier, cheaper for folks to put their kids on our school buses and send them to school. So. Any other questions on transit? Page 250 is wastewater. And on the revenue side, you'll see the revenue projections are up considering the 5% increase that we'll see next year that was passed by a previous council. So on the revenue side, that's kind of the major change there. There is also a $1.2 million transfer to surplus that you'll see in the budget. So that's good news. And then on page 255, under admin, there is a slight increase on the salary line item that is due to a reclassification of an engineering designer position to try to bolster our admin position. We are losing, unfortunately, our director, our wastewater division director here shortly, and so we hope to get that position hired, and then this elevated position would go to help that new person that's coming in. So you'll also see the gross receipts utility tax on page 256. That's $815,000 into the admin budget. Before I move on to the collection side, is there any questions so far under wastewater?
Yeah, Mr. Rimmer, it's been a few months ago, and I don't remember exactly how long ago, but I think council approved, or at least preliminarily, I don't know if we agreed, I just don't remember, about on the west end of town, a sewer remodel. I don't know if that's an appropriate word, but
Westview? Yeah. Phase 2 of Westview, lift station and force main improvements.
it's like $6-point-something million. I'm going off memory. I don't know if that's right or not, but I think that's what it was. And I think one of the questions council had then, forgive me if the answer has been given, I just don't remember it, were the service recipients of that over a period of time with the fees. I know that there was a schedule of increase based on the investment, but would that level of increase pay over a period of time? Would it pay for what was being done, or was that going to have to be shared out of general revenue? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
It's all out of the rate, the sewer rate.
Right. Sewer rates
So the sewer rates would cover that for however many years.
And I think what was approved, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a application to SRF for that project. And so yes, but our sewer rates would cover.
Okay. Councilman Thomas.
Mr. Bremer, another memory bank thing from previous council, maybe Public Works, was that there were 2 positions that were going to be upgraded along with commensurate salary, which I thought we approved, and I think not funded here on page 257 for one of these. Is this one of those, or did we not fully approve that? I'm just
No, this was not part of what was discussed. I think what you're referring to was discussed in Public Works and Planning, and still working with HR and administration on that idea. I've got to produce a better plan for any further changes with personnel when it comes to the wastewater division.
Thank you. And then, how is wastewater's healthcare taken care of? Are you part of the city thing, or do you guys do your own?
We'll take that one. So I assume you're talking about employee health care.
Yes, I was.
Okay, and so for every employee, the fund that is essentially their home fund takes care of the cost on that. And so if it's a wastewater employee, then wastewater pays for those benefits as well.
Out of their own fund.
Correct.
Thank you.
That would be true for any enterprise fund. So that's true for airport parking, transit, and wastewater, as well as parks.
Got it. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. So I'm a little concerned about the GRUT $815,000, and I'm going to get pilloried for even questioning money going to streets. But I just want to make sure that we're not robbing from Peter to pay Paul. And how is this $815,000 now available that it wasn't before? And I guess I'm just concerned that, Councilman Ehlers has talked several times about, gee, can we get expanded sewer lines out so that we can build and improve those places? Things break down. I don't know if the wastewater plant suffered damages in the most recent flood. I'm just concerned that we're drawing down funds that we're then going to have to come up with later. If that makes sense, if you could address that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
I think the good thing is that we're still, that $1.2 million that I mentioned on the revenue side. There's still $1.2 million that is going into surplus, even after the gross receipts utility tax. So, does that answer your question?
A little bit. Are there any capital projects on the horizon for wastewater?
I would be happy to kind of respond to some of that as well. In addition to the 1.2 that's going into the wastewater fund balance, this budget also contains $1.2 million worth of capital projects money. So each year, wastewater fund has included capital projects. For the most part, they've also been allowed to purchase any equipment and vehicles and things like that they needed. And so if you think about the fact that we put 1.2 into capital projects, 1.2 is going back to the fund balance, and that is after the $815,000 is paid. So while we are reducing the amount that's going to the fund balance, we are still putting money back to the fund balance, and that fund balance continues to grow at a much more rapid pace than any other fund balance that we have as a city. And so during this budget process, we talked about what options did we have that would be viable to consider. And we do have gross receipt utility tax for the other utilities that we have that use our right-of-way. And so this is something that, did we not own the wastewater department or the sewer plant, we would be getting those gross receipt utility tax revenues from whatever organization it was that owned that utility. And so essentially, for many years, we have not been really holding our wastewater utility to the same rate or amount that we have been getting in general revenue from the other utilities. So I look at it as we have continued to increase the fund balance. We've continued to place money into the budget for capital improvements and wastewater, and we are now able to utilize funds that were at another utility, they would be paying to us anyway, and they are currently not.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bear. So again, I think it's a brilliant idea, and to be able to put any more money into streets is exactly what we really need at this point. I think I just want to make sure that a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we're not suddenly wondering why we don't have $3 million we need to fix something or improve something or whatever. So that's my concern. I think you've assuaged my concern. So with that, I will back out. Thank you.
Those are a couple big words there, Mr. Thomas. But
Sorry, English major.
I think that the staff, in my opinion, and certainly not to give a speech, but to create an opportunity and create or find through a creative mechanism to find dollars to put in an area for which I believe all of us would agree needs every dollar we can squeeze to improve our roads and to listen to all our constituents in the city, and to find out that most communities do a GRUT tax that we have not done, is pretty creative and understandable, of trying to find ways to leverage dollars towards our streets. So that doesn't say that if there's a dedicated dollar amount in a future endeavor, tax or whatever for streets, that money couldn't then be redirected, because if we didn't have a GRUT tax before 2025, doesn't mean we can't not have one down the road if staff and council at that time ever felt that there was underfunded needs at the wastewater. I think your point's valid about the wastewater treatment facility is done very well and at a high level delivered, and to have some resources to deliver. I think everybody shares, including staff, that we wouldn't want to put them in a negative leverage position. And we don't think that this does that, to be honest.
Can I make one more point, Mr. Chairman?
Of course.
So to give some context, the wastewater fund at the end of FY24 has a fund balance of $11,806,000. Their total spend that we have in the budget for this year, which includes the $815,000 worth of GRUT expenditure, is $14,372,000. So clearly the percent that they have in their fund balance is very high in comparison to their total expenditures for the year, maybe close to 85-90%. If you think about the financial policies, they require the general fund to have a 17% fund balance for the adopted budget's expenditures. So we are considerably higher on the wastewater fund balance percentage than even our financial policies require.
Very good. Any other questions? Very good. Nope. Councilwoman Joe.
So this idea actually came from Councilman Campeter, and I don't know if he has floated it or if he will have an opportunity to ask about. We as council set the rate for the GRUT tax, right? So if we theoretically had a desire to utilize more of that money for a different department, because we already approved the rate that we're going to do, right?
Correct.
So would we at this point be able to change that, or is it too late?
Change the percentage. In order to change the percentage, we would have to hold another public hearing and bring back a different bill. So that would take at least 2 council meetings to accomplish that.
What are we talking? I don't think we're talking on the same page here. What are we talking about?
You are talking about the 6% gross receipts utility tax that we get for
Yeah, the one that,
electric, gas,
yeah, we
those
just
kinds of
approved
things.
it. And Councilman Campeter has more details on this, but I just wanted to, in case he didn't get a chance to ask, I wanted to know what the process would be.
Yeah, so also, if we're talking about,
Can you mic up?
sorry,
Those at home.
also, if we're talking about the electric, gas, utility tax, those were approved by vote, or they existed before the Hancock Amendment. So in addition to the 2 weeks and renotice, in order to raise that, you would actually have to take that to the vote of the people. So if we wanted to go from 6% to 7%, that would take a vote of the people. Now, if we went to lower, the 5%, that wouldn't. So it also kind of depends on what direction we're talking about as well.
Okay, so that would be specifically for that wastewater fund. If council decided that they wanted to squeeze out a little more for a one-time expense.
So on the wastewater fund, this is a tax on ourselves. So that can go up and down at the will of the council. That could go up to 10%, whatever it is, as long as you're not getting into the realm of it being unreasonable. The case law is a little mushy on what that number can be, because this is not a glut. This is it's a pilot. It's a payment in lieu of taxes, and so we have some flexibility there. So that particular piece could be amended by action in this budget. So we've approved revenues. I think it would just be resetting the revenues on the pig rut. We would not have to go back through a public hearing if all we're talking about is this wastewater gross receipts utility tax, which is not actually a tax, it's a pilot. So I know that's confusing, but if that's all we're talking about is the wastewater glut, then that can go up and down essentially at the will of the council.
So it could actually be done with a budget amendment that we're going to kind of get into. But because of what the city councilor said in regards to reasonable, that is why we picked the percentage that we did. It is 6%, close enough to it, which is what the other gross receipts utility tax rates are for electric and gas and those kinds of things.
Mr. Crane?
Yeah, I would just say if we're looking at opportunities to increase that for other things, whatever those other things might be, we think this is reasonable, and that's why we proposed it. It also allows us to, like Sheila said, continue to fund our fund balance and our capital needs. But if we're going to go any higher than that for things that might not be related, see the charging the utility that operates in our right-of-way to use our right-of-way is common. While some towns have used utility revenues to fund other things, it's also how they've gotten in trouble by not continuing to fund the improvements that are needed for that utility. So we think we're reasonable now. If we went too much higher, I would very much recommend a rate study and potentially a rate increase to cover that. If we're not willing to do that, I would hesitate to recommend going too much higher than what we are now. And furthermore, our current rate structure and rate study really put us through 2027. So next year's budget, I'm going to be recommending a new rate study to set our next 5 years. And that's really when we would look at what all the expenses are for that utility and come up with what we think the rates are going to be to fund our operation. So I would feel a little bit more comfortable about expanding past the 6% if we had a rate study that could show how we're going to do everything.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Very good, proceed, please.
All right, moving on to page 258, wastewater collection system. Nothing major, no major changes, no major significant adds. There are a purchase of vehicles. There's about $215,000 in there for that. Other than that, that's really it. It looks very similar to last year. Any questions on the collection side?
I don't have a question for that, but are there bonds currently out for the sewer?
There are. We have several with quite a few.
Right.
We do have those in a different department, so you'll be seeing some of that as we get into this as well.
It kind of goes back to maybe what Councilwoman Jobe was. I think it's relative to note that there's bonds out for that department based upon their fund balance, which will help get you the best rate, qualify for bonds. If we start messing with that balance, I would share concern about doing too big a swing, because it can affect that department long term.
As we've spoken about in a past meeting, at least, we did contact bond counsel to make sure that they did not have any concerns with this, and we did not get any negative feedback in any way. And so that was one of the reasons that we were comfortable proceeding with the 6% that we did put into the budget.
Understood. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments? Very good.
All right, as noted, just the only change on the collection side is for a three-quarter ton truck and a small dump truck that is needed to replace some historic equipment. Under wastewater treatment system, pretty similar there. Vehicles and equipment, we have about $70,000 in there for a couple of trucks to replace some older trucks that we've got, and there is $100,000 to address a kind of a failing retaining wall at our south building at the treatment system, at the treatment collection plant. So with that, there's really no other significant changes on the treatment plant. Any questions on the plant? Moving on, wastewater bonds. There is nothing of note here. As things change, they will get added and modified in the budget go ahead, Julie.
So to help out with this, we do not have a budget here because at this point we have no firm plans to take out additional bonds. If we did, or when we do, there will be a budget amendment that goes along with that. But right now, since we have no plans to take out new bonds, that's why there's nothing here. The principal and interest to pay the current bonds that exist are in the administrative department, so $64,650, and you will actually see principal and interest on bonds. There's some reserve accounts for those bonds as well, but that's the difference here on those.
All right, wastewater capital purchases projects. There's, as Sheila previously mentioned, there's $1.2 million in there for projects. Those projects are listed in the budget. There's a project on West Main, West High Street, Hart Street. There's old failing sewer collection system that needs to be reworked there. There is a small amount of sewer in conjunction with the stormwater project on Fairmont, and also over in the Fairmont area, Lee Street, Dockery, Cordell. There's some modifications to the collection system needed over there near Morrow Drive. So, any questions on the projects? With that, that is all I have.
Very good. Thank you.
So we covered the remainder of the funds. We covered the capital improvement funds. So at this point, we've now covered all funds and all departments within those funds. What we had planned for this meeting to cover after this were just committee questions of staff. I know that we've answered a very large number of questions, and those have all been forwarded to council. I do have 1 or 2 questions that we are still formulating responses on that we'll still continue to work on. But at this point, I have nothing else for committee.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Just thoughts and where we go from here. Any proposed changes from council, I believe, needs to be to Ms. Perry by September 12th. Is that right?
So the next item on the calendar is, yes, Friday, September 12th. And the notation I have there is that committee member amendments are due to finance by close of business on that day. Finance will end up reviewing account numbers and making sure that everything that has been put on those amendments is able to be done, just from a logistical standpoint, that we're not moving money from places that it can't be moved to cover some expenses. So that is the day that we have for that. And then the next scheduled meeting after I receive those on September 12th would be September 18th. And that's where the committee members that provide amendments to me would present their amendments and have discussion with the other committee members and approve those or not. And then we'd be asking for the committee to move whatever the budget is at that time to the full council.
So just as a recap, any amendment that council members work on and present by the 12th would come back to us as a budget committee to approve those. And then once we purge through that, and typically, historically, as years have gone, they've become fewer and fewer because there's just fewer and fewer maneuvering that can be done, or cross-leveling, maybe that's a better word, to do that. Because if you come up with something, you got to figure out where you're going to get the money from, and that's always the challenge. But there may be ideas out there, maybe something out there. So the 12th is the hard date, and then the staff will compile those, bring those to us on the 18th, and we'll muddle through those, whatever they are, or none. And then at that point, we'll know a better idea of where to go from there. I think we've got the next hard date is October. I don't remember the date in October. It was the 20-something when you're leaving.
September 29th and October 2nd are free dates on the calendar if we needed them to review additional amendments. And then I have on October 6th, council meeting, vote on the budget. If that doesn't happen, it has to be done on October 20th.
Yeah.
At that council meeting. I will say that once this committee works its way through the amendments, and once you have passed something on to full council, the hope of staff is that what goes to full council is ultimately what full council ends up adopting. The reason for that is I will come back to that council meeting with a substitute bill. We just introduced the budget bill on Tuesday. I'll come back with a substitute bill. That substitute bill will have any amendments that are approved. It will have a modified personnel schedule, and it will have a detailed listing of every account number and the dollars that we have in there. That is something that we're required to attach to that bill, just so the information is readily available for anybody to look at.
Very good. So what I'm about to say is in no way intended to unnecessarily speed us up. We've got dates set aside if we need them. But we may not need them. And if we don't, we get the budget to the full council, we vote on it, we move on. You know, we've been ahead of schedule. I think last year we were a little ahead of schedule. Not sure about the year before, but we weren't crisis mode, I don't think. So we'll move at our pace. We have dates available to meet if we need them. But, you know, we don't have to have a meeting just to have a meeting. If we can move the budget to full council, we'll get the budget to full council and move on. But I certainly want to give the budget every moment attention that it needs, and any budget amendments that council members want to lay on the table and present to the finance department and then to us as a committee. So certainly not trying to speed us up, because our time, this budget deserves the attention. So, but by the same token, we don't have to have meetings to have meetings. Any other comments or suggestions, questions? Very good. Well, Mr. Thomas.
I just wanted to inquire of Ms. Young if she had a motion to make.
Of course. I want to move that this meeting be adjourned.
Seconded.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.